Here is a hard truth nobody tells you about the healthy snacks sitting in your pantry right now. That daily handful of nuts you are eating to protect your heart and stay sharp. Half of them might be quietly doing the exact opposite. If you have noticed your legs feeling a little heavier when you climb the stairs, or your balance feeling just a fraction less steady than it used to be, you probably chalked it up to normal aging. We all do. We think waking up with stiff joints or experiencing that frustrating afternoon brain fog is just part of getting older. But new research is painting a very different picture. The decline in our mobility, our muscle strength, and our cognitive sharpness is often accelerated by hidden dietary triggers. And surprisingly, some of the most common offenders are the very nuts we've been told to eat for years. Look, I get it. For decades, the wellness industry has packaged all nuts together as the ultimate superfood. We are told they are heart-healthy, packed with good fats, and the perfect low-carb snack. But biology doesn't work in broad categories. Your body responds to the specific chemical compounds, toxins, and nutrient ratios in every individual food you eat. While some nuts genuinely act as medicine for your brain and muscles, others are quietly fueling widespread inflammation, interfering with your daily medications, and blocking your body from absorbing the calcium it desperately needs to keep your bones from fracturing. Now, before we get deep into the science of this, I want to be incredibly clear. This is educational content, not medical advice. I am here to share the research so you can make informed decisions, but you should always talk to your doctor before making major changes to your diet, especially if you are managing health conditions or taking prescription medications. Let's talk about what most people get completely wrong about nuts. The biggest myth in the nutrition world is that because a food comes from the earth, it is universally safe in any quantity. We see a bag of nuts at the grocery store with a green label and assume it is doing our body a favor. But plants have evolved brilliant defense mechanisms to protect themselves from being eaten. They produce natural compounds that, while harmless to the plant, can be surprisingly stressful for the human digestive system and immune network. As we get older, our liver and kidneys become slightly less efficient at filtering out these natural toxins. Our gut lining becomes more sensitive. And our immune system is more prone to overreacting, which creates the low-grade inflammation that makes your joints ache and your energy crash. We need to break down exactly which popular nuts are working against you. Let's start with an incredibly common one that hides a surprisingly dangerous compound. I am talking about bitter almonds. You hear the word almond and immediately think of a smart, heart-healthy choice. But there is a distinct variety known as the bitter almond that requires serious caution, particularly if you are consuming them raw. While the regular, sweet almonds you buy in the baking aisle are perfectly safe and highly nutritious, bitter almonds contain a natural defense compound called amygdalin. When you chew and digest amygdalin, your body's enzymes break it down into something far more sinister, cyanide. Yes, that's cyanide. It is a highly toxic substance that actively interferes with how your cells use oxygen. This is where the biological problem begins. For a young, highly active person, the liver might aggressively filter out a tiny amount of this toxin without much noticeable effect. But as we age, our metabolic clearance slows down. Just eating 4 to 5 raw bitter almonds can introduce enough of this compound to trigger lightheadedness, unexpected nausea, or a sudden sense of confusion that you might mistake for fatigue. Eat a few more, and the toxicity reaches a level that can actually require emergency medical intervention. What makes this genuinely terrifying is the way these nuts are marketed online. You will often see bitter almonds sold in health food circles as apricot kernels or aggressively marketed as natural detox aids. Let me be perfectly clear, there is absolutely no detoxifying benefit to cyanide. Heating or roasting these nuts does neutralize the danger, but eating them raw under the guise of natural medicine is not just risky, it is actively harmful to your cellular health. If you want to maintain your independence, your energy, and your neurological sharpness, this is one variety you need to leave on the shelf entirely. Now here is where this gets genuinely interesting, because the next offender is sitting in almost every American kitchen right now. It is a staple at parties, a favorite in trail mixes, and smeared on toast every morning. But peanuts are quietly driving a wedge into your health. The first thing you need to understand is that peanuts are not actually nuts at all. They belong to the legume family, which means they grow underground. This unique growing environment makes their soft shells incredibly vulnerable to moisture, which allows a specific type of mold to flourish. This mold produces aflatoxins. These are highly inflammatory compounds that sneak right past the roasting process and into your peanut butter jar. Research shows that chronic exposure to aflatoxins is linked to cellular damage and weakened immune responses over time. Remember how we talked about the liver slowing down as we age? When your liver is constantly forced to process these hidden mold toxins, it experiences chronic stress. This often shows up in your day-to-day life as unexplained, heavy fatigue and a slow, steady increase in systemic inflammation. If you have been waking up with stiff knees or aching hands, your daily peanut habit might be the hidden fuel keeping that inflammation burning. But the problems with peanuts go much deeper than mold. Peanuts are heavily loaded with omega-6 fatty acids. Your body absolutely needs some omega-6s to survive, but the ratio matters immensely. When you consume too many omega-6s compared to omega-3s, your body flips a biological switch that promotes widespread, aggressive inflammation. This chemical imbalance actively degrades joint cartilage, slows down your peripheral circulation, and contributes to the brain fog that makes it hard to recall names or focus on a book. If you are over the age of 60 and taking any form of blood-thinning medication, there is another massive red flag here. Peanuts contain naturally occurring vitamin K. While vitamin K is essential for blood clotting, unpredictable spikes of it in your diet can actively interfere with how your blood thinners work. This can suddenly increase your risk of dangerous clots or, conversely, unexpected bleeding. When you factor in the massive amounts of hydrogenated oils and refined sugars added to commercial peanut butter, you are looking at a snack that quietly pushes your blood pressure higher and wears down your cardiovascular system day by day. Most people stop here and think, well, I will just buy expensive, gourmet nuts instead. But what comes next is the part that actually changes things. Because even the most luxurious nuts can sabotage your physical strength. Let's look at macadamia nuts. Macadamias are praised for their rich, buttery, indulgent flavor. They are a staple in high-end baking and gourmet snack mixes. But for an aging adult trying to preserve their mobility, they are a biological trap. Muscle loss, scientifically known as sarcopenia, is one of the single greatest threats to your independence as you get older. To fight it, your body requires a steady, daily supply of high-quality protein and structural fiber to repair and rebuild muscle tissue after everyday activities. Macadamia nuts completely fail this test. They are incredibly dense in fat but shockingly low in both protein and dietary fiber. When you snack on macadamias, you are consuming a massive caloric load without giving your body the structural building blocks it needs to maintain the muscles in your legs, your core, and your back. Without adequate protein, your body cannot efficiently repair microtears in the muscle fibers. The result? Your legs feel heavier, your recovery time from a simple walk takes longer, and you experience a gradual, insidious loss of explosive strength. Furthermore, because they are so calorically dense, they easily contribute to unwanted weight gain. Adding just a few extra pounds of unsupportive weight puts immense, grinding pressure on aging hip and knee joints. It turns climbing a flight of stairs from a normal daily task into an exhausting, painful chore. And because store-bought macadamias are almost always roasted in cheap, inflammatory seed oils and heavily salted, they act as a double blow, worsening joint stiffness while spiking blood volume and blood pressure. I know this might sound discouraging. Stay with me, because we are going to pivot to the exact foods that rebuild your body in a moment. But first, you need to be aware of a tiny, innocent-looking seed that might be completely throwing off your medical treatments. Let's talk about pine nuts. You see them sprinkled over expensive salads or blended into rich, traditional pestos. They look delicate and refined. But pine nuts carry risks that are almost entirely overlooked by the general public, and sometimes even by physicians. The primary concern with pine nuts is their powerful potential to alter how your liver metabolizes daily medications. Pine nuts contain specific compounds, notably pinolenic acid, which can influence the enzymatic pathways in your liver. Why does this matter? Because those are the exact same pathways responsible for breaking down blood pressure medications, cholesterol-lowering statins, and drugs designed to regulate heart rhythm. When a food interferes with this process, the medication can build up in your bloodstream to dangerous levels, or it can be flushed out too quickly to do its job. For a senior managing a delicate balance of multiple prescriptions, this hidden interaction can lead to sudden, terrifying spikes in blood pressure or erratic, fluttering heartbeats. There is also a bizarre but highly disruptive condition associated with them known as pine mouth. A significant number of people develop a persistent, metallic, overwhelmingly bitter taste in their mouth a day or two after eating pine nuts. This phantom taste can last for weeks, making all other food and water taste metallic and rancid. For an older adult who may already be struggling with a declining appetite, this condition can completely destroy their desire to eat. When food intake drops, rapid weight loss and severe muscle wasting follow close behind. Add in the fact that their small, slippery shape makes them a genuine choking hazard for anyone with a dry mouth, and pine nuts simply do not justify the risk. We have one more nut to cross off our list before we get to the rebuilders. And this one is heartbreaking for a lot of people because it is universally loved. I am talking about cashews. Cashews are smooth, creamy, and undeniably delicious. But underneath that pleasant texture, cashews are quietly chipping away at the foundation of your mobility, your bone density. The biological mechanism here is fascinating and frustrating. Cashews contain massive amounts of a compound called oxalates. Think of oxalates as microscopic chemical magnets traveling through your digestive system. They are actively seeking out minerals to bind to, and their absolute favorite target is calcium. When you eat a handful of cashews, the oxalates flood your gut and bind tightly to the calcium from your diet. This creates an insoluble crystal that your body simply cannot absorb. It passes right through you. So, even if you are drinking milk or taking a calcium supplement, the cashews are effectively locking that calcium away, preventing it from reaching your bones. As we age, our bone density naturally thins out. Depriving your skeletal system of available calcium accelerates this thinning, pushing you faster toward osteoporosis, fragile hips, and a significantly higher risk of a life-altering fracture from a simple slip. But the damage doesn't stop at your skeleton. When those oxalate and calcium crystals pass through your bloodstream, they have to be filtered by your kidneys. If you are not drinking enough water, and let's be honest, chronic dehydration is a massive issue for older adults, these crystals can settle in the kidneys and form highly painful kidney stones. On top of all this, cashews are much higher in carbohydrates than most other nuts. Eating them by the handful can trigger sharp spikes in your blood glucose levels. Over time, these daily blood sugar spikes damage the tiny, delicate blood vessels in your extremities, leading to neuropathy, numbness in the feet, and dangerously slow wound healing. Now, take a deep breath. We have covered the hidden dangers, the inflammation triggers, and the bone blockers. Here is the part your doctor probably hasn't mentioned, and it is the exact reason you should never give up on nuts entirely. While those 5 nuts can silently dismantle your health, there are 5 extraordinary powerhouses that do the exact opposite. These are the rebuilders. The nuts that actively fortify your memory, clean out your arteries, and provide the exact structural nutrients your legs need to stay strong and steady. Let's start with a nut that most Americans completely ignore unless it is a holiday. Chestnuts. Unlike virtually every other nut on the planet, chestnuts are remarkably low in fat and exceptionally high in complex carbohydrates and dietary fiber. This unique nutritional profile makes them a godsend for aging metabolisms. Instead of hitting your system with a heavy load of fats that take hours to digest, chestnuts provide a slow, steady, sustained release of clean energy. They keep you feeling full and energetic without weighing down your digestive tract. Even more impressively, chestnuts are packed with vitamin C. You almost never find meaningful amounts of vitamin C in the nut family. This powerful antioxidant is vital for synthesizing collagen. Collagen is the primary protein that keeps your joints lubricated, your tendons flexible, and your skin resilient. By eating chestnuts, you are quite literally feeding your joints the raw materials they need to move without pain. Clinical studies have consistently linked chestnut consumption to better blood sugar control and lowered LDL cholesterol. You can roast them until they are warm and tender, or buy them pre-cooked and chop them into warm grain bowls. They are a brilliant, heart-protecting energy source. Next up is a true champion for your skeletal system. While cashews steal your calcium, sweet almonds deliver it directly to your bones. Sweet almonds, the safe, standard almonds you find everywhere, are one of the most powerful daily habits you can adopt. They are an absolute powerhouse of both calcium and magnesium. This combination is critical. Taking calcium alone is practically useless if your body doesn't know where to put it. Magnesium acts as the biological traffic cop, directing the calcium away from your arteries, where it could cause blockages, and pushing it directly into your bone matrix to harden and strengthen your skeleton. But almonds do not stop at bone defense. They are rich in high-quality plant protein and monounsaturated fats. This specific pairing helps preserve lean muscle mass, fighting back directly against the muscle loss we talked about earlier. A major, long-term study published in the Journal of Nutrition followed older adults and found that those who made nuts like almonds a regular part of their diet had significantly higher physical function scores. They walked faster, gripped harder, and experienced much lower rates of physical frailty. Plus, the dark brown skin of the almond is loaded with protective antioxidants that cross into the brain, actively defending your memory centers from age-related oxidative rust. If almonds are the defenders of your bones, the next nut is absolute rocket fuel for your mind. I am talking about walnuts. Look at a walnut without its shell. It actually looks exactly like a miniature human brain, with its left and right hemispheres and complex folds. In the world of biology, this is a beautiful coincidence, because walnuts are undeniably the greatest nut for cognitive preservation. The secret weapon inside a walnut is a compound called alpha-linolenic acid, or ALA. This is a highly potent, plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. As you age, the protective casing around your brain cells, known as the myelin sheath, begins to degrade. This slows down the electrical signals in your brain, leading to that frustrating feeling of having a word right on the tip of your tongue but being unable to find it. The ALA in walnuts physically rebuilds these cell membranes, keeping your brain cells flexible, highly communicative, and lightning fast. Walnuts are also densely packed with specialized polyphenol that act as a biological fire extinguisher for brain inflammation. These antioxidants are uniquely capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, a highly selective filter that protects your brain from toxins. Once inside, they hunt down and neutralize the free radicals that drive memory loss and cognitive decline. Research shows that seniors who eat walnuts multiple times a week score demonstrably higher on cognitive processing tests. And as a wonderful side benefit, walnuts are one of the only natural food sources of bioavailable melatonin, meaning a small handful in the late afternoon can dramatically improve the depth and quality of your sleep that night. Now, let's look at a nut that acts as a profound hormone regulator. Most people don't think about hormones when they think about muscle strength, but they are the silent directors of your energy. We need to talk about Brazil nuts. Brazil nuts are not the kind of nut you eat by the handful. They are medicinal in their potency. The magic of the Brazil nut lies in its astonishing concentration of selenium. Selenium is a trace mineral that is absolutely essential for the proper functioning of your thyroid gland. Your thyroid is the master control center for your entire metabolism. When your thyroid slows down with age, everything else slows down with it. Your energy crashes, your muscles feel weak and unresponsive, and your internal thermostat gets thrown completely out of whack. Just 1 or 2 large Brazil nuts provide more than enough selenium to meet your body's daily requirements. By optimizing your thyroid function, you naturally boost your baseline energy levels. Furthermore, studies indicate that healthy selenium levels support natural testosterone production in both men and women. This is crucial because maintaining healthy testosterone is one of the most effective ways to preserve lean muscle tissue and bone density as the years pass. There is a very strict rule here, however. Because they are so incredibly nutrient-dense, you must practice portion control. Eating too many Brazil nuts can lead to selenium toxicity, which causes brittle nails and hair loss. Treat them like a daily vitamin. 2 raw, unsalted Brazil nuts a day is the perfect dose to keep your metabolism burning and your muscles supported. Finally, we arrive at a nut that protects 2 things you absolutely cannot afford to lose: your heart function and your vision. Let's talk about the unique power of pistachios. We are constantly warned to lower our sodium intake as we age to protect our blood vessels. This makes a lot of people terrified of snacking. But pistachios actually help solve the blood pressure equation. The biological trick to managing blood pressure isn't just cutting salt, it is increasing your intake of dietary potassium. Potassium physically relaxes the walls of your blood vessels, allowing them to widen and let blood flow freely without resistance. Pistachios are incredibly rich in this vessel-relaxing potassium. By opening up your circulation, they ensure that oxygen-rich blood reaches the deep muscle tissues in your legs, keeping them strong, energized, and resistant to cramping. But here is where pistachios truly stand apart from the crowd. They are packed with lutein and zeaxanthin. If those names sound familiar, it is because they are the exact same carotenoids found in dark leafy greens that ophthalmologists recommend for eye health. These compounds accumulate directly in the retina of your eye, acting as a biological pair of sunglasses. They filter out damaging blue light and actively protect your eyes from macular degeneration and age-related cataracts. Maintaining sharp, clear vision isn't just about reading a book, it is your primary defense against tripping, losing your balance, and suffering a catastrophic fall. So, how do we take all of this complex biology and turn it into something you can actually do in your kitchen today? The practical application is simple but non-negotiable. First, you must clear the inflammatory traps from your pantry. Stop buying commercial peanut butter loaded with hydrogenated oils. Say goodbye to the cashews and the heavily salted macadamias that are rusting your joints and blocking your calcium. Instead, build a new, protective habit. Go to the store and buy raw, unsalted sweet almonds, a bag of raw walnuts, some pistachios in their shells, and a small container of Brazil nuts. The way you store these is critical. Nuts are full of delicate natural oils that go rancid when exposed to heat and light. A rancid nut is an oxidized nut, and eating it creates the exact inflammation we are trying to stop. Always store your rebuilding nuts in an airtight glass container in the refrigerator or the freezer. The cold preserves the omega-3s and keeps the polyphenol active and potent. When it comes to portion size, remember that nuts are a biological tool, not a mindless snack. Aim for about 1 ounce per day, that is roughly a small handful. Mix a few almonds and walnuts together, eat 2 Brazil nuts, and maybe crack open a dozen pistachios in the afternoon. The physical act of cracking the pistachio shells actually slows down your eating speed, giving your brain time to register fullness, and it subtly maintains the fine motor skills and dexterity in your fingers. The human body is remarkably resilient. It is never too late to change the biological signals you are sending to your cells. By swapping out the nuts that drive hidden inflammation for the ones that actively rebuild your cellular walls, you are making a profound investment in your future mobility. You are choosing stronger legs, a sharper memory, and a more vibrant, independent life. If this deep dive gave you a different way of thinking about your daily habits, stick around. This is exactly what we do here. We cut through the marketing noise, translate the hard science, and give you real, actionable tools to rebuild your body from the inside out. Subscribe so you never miss the next breakdown, and please, share this with a friend or family member who still thinks all nuts are created equal. Keep moving, keep learning, and I will see you in the next video.